Welcome back to the Kwik Brain podcast. I am your host, your brain coach, Jim Kwik, and this is a very special episode. I am going to share with you a clip of our brand new, the Limitless Mind Course. This is the course that's based on the processes and the principles out of our global bestseller, Limitless, the expanded version, and it brings it to life. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Today, we're going to tackle some very modern supervillains, if you will, these digital monsters that hold us back in the digital age. And with the rise of these digital supervillains, I like to call them the four horsemen of the mental apocalypse. Our world today is hyperconnected. You know this, right? You feel this. You don't just know it. It's viscerally in our environment. And while this comes with numerous benefits, there's also kind of a darker side. And so I call these four supervillains of the digital age: digital deluge, digital distraction, digital dementia, and a term I coined, digital deduction. So let's go through it, because often when we're going on our own hero's journey to develop and unleash this limitless mind, we face obstacles. And Ryan Holiday has this phrase, the obstacle is the way. It helps to know what the enemies are so that we can navigate better. So the first one was digital deluge. This is the information overwhelm. Do you ever feel like you're drowning in information? Well, that's digital deluge. It's the overwhelming flood of data we face daily. It's like trying to drink some water out of a fire hose, and our brains really weren't designed for that. And so we want to talk about, how do you combat that? What's the strategy? And it's just two things. You filter and then you focus. So you don't try to consume everything. Instead, you prioritize and you ask yourself, write this down: what truly deserves my attention? What truly deserves my attention? The second horseman of the mental apocalypse is digital distractions. How many times a day do you check your phone? Do you look at your screen time? It's very revealing, because a lot of times we do this unconsciously. Every ring and ping and ding and app notifications, social media alert, it's really hard to focus. And distractions are everywhere, pulling our attention and really diminishing our concentration. And if you want a better memory, if you want better reading, if you want better learning, you need to be able to focus, because the art of learning is the art of attention. So the combat strategy, or the superpowers we're going to be unleashing, is single tasking. Remember, multitasking is a myth. We've talked about that in podcasts, in our book, in our programs. The brain functions best when it focuses on one thing at a time. And you need to set specific times for specific tasks. And we're going to talk about that. The third supervillain, digital, do you remember? Dementia, right? It's kind of like memory is a big part of my life. It should be a part of yours. I believe if your life is worth living, it's worth remembering. But digital dementia is the high reliance, the over-reliance even, on our digital devices, making us forget basic things. Like, how many phone numbers did you know growing up? Probably a lot of them, but how many phone numbers can you recall right now without looking at your phone? GPS is great, but when we over rely on it, we're not exercising our memory, because we've gone on that trip maybe before, and we're not activating those cognitive webs, and they can get a little flabby, those mental muscles. So we need to exercise our brain's natural capabilities. So the combat strategy is just mindful memory. How do you practice developing your memory? What if you dial the phone number manually every once in a while? Or try navigating without your GPS once in a while. And number four, the fourth super villain, if you will, is digital deduction. With search engines at our fingertips, we often kind of skip the thinking process. We have an algorithm that recommends us things to buy or places to go, and it does the thinking for us. So instead of pondering and solving problems and doing that deep work, engaging in your critical thinking, we just search for them. And the combat strategy, the superpower we're going to talk about, is how do you pause before you go online? Before reaching for that device, just take a pause and just ponder and get curious about this question, and just start thinking about it. Take time to think, maybe schedule some white space. We've talked about that in our book and our podcast, to try to come up with an answer yourself. And then you could use the search engine to maybe verify. And I want to walk you through an exercise. This is a digital detox. And when I say this, I know some of you listening to my words, watching this right now, are like, no, I can't turn off my phone for any extended period of time. But how do you become conscious in your tech usage? How do you plan for that? And so this is your challenge time. Let's flex your brain muscle. Do you have too much to read, but too little time? Are your shelves full of books that you haven't read yet and become shelf help, not self-help? And that's why I created the Kwik Reading course. 15 minutes a day, 21 days will absolutely transform your life. Just go to kwikbrain.com/reading. Use the code podcast15 and you'll get instant access. I'm gonna challenge you to do a digital detox. Now for clients, we try to get them up to 24 hours without any digital devices. Maybe they set a day like a Saturday or a Sunday where there are no phones, no TV, no computers, and they go through an analog day just to give their mind a little bit of rest and some restoration. Sometimes you have to disconnect to what? To be able to reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your body, reconnect with your mind. And what I want you to do is, you don't have to start with 24 hours. Honestly, that's a big jump for a lot of people. What if you just started with 30 minutes? I think the most important function for a productivity tool when it comes to your phone is airplane mode. But what if you turned it off and just observed how you feel and what you discover in the absence of digital noise? And I want you to journal about this. You could even keep a tech usage log, analog. You don't need another excuse to get onto a device or a screen. I hope you're taking notes in a physical notebook. But for the next week, I want you to maintain a log of your tech usage. Every single time you go on to check your phone, I just want you to take a moment and write it down. It just sensitizes. This is how you build self-awareness. Write down every time you check your phone, every time that you go on social media, every time you watch a Netflix or a program on television. And at the end of the week, I just want you to take a moment and just review it. And you might be surprised. In order to make any change, you need to build awareness. You need awareness of where you are. So this is kind of like a little audit. Kind of like in our Kwik Reading program, we do an audit. We test your base rates reading speed. We test your base comprehension. In the memory program, we test you in every session, giving you something to memorize, and we give you a starting point. And I want you to develop what I call a conscious tech plan. Based on your findings, because you're your best coach, create a conscious tech usage plan, because it's all about being mindful. Technology is not bad. It allows this to happen, this program right now. You want to use technology. You don't want technology using what? Using you. And so maybe it's checking emails twice a day. Maybe a couple hours into your day, you check your emails, and maybe at the end of the day. Or perhaps it's designating a tech-free hours where you're just gonna take time and think, because your ultimate wealth is your ability to think, to be able to solve problems. And remember, technology isn't the enemy. It didn't create all of these challenges, it just amplified it. It didn't create the overload, it's just amplifying. It didn't create the distractions, it's just magnifying it. And so remember, you control your tech, don't let it control you. The point is, your brain is your most powerful technology. But when's the last time you took time to upgrade it? And you're upgrading it right now. And just like any tech, it's about using it the right way. I hope you enjoyed this very special episode. This was a segment out of our brand new course, The Limitless Mind, which is the ultimate brain boosting accelerated learning program based on our global bestseller, Limitless, the expanded edition. If you want more information about how you can boost your brain and learn anything faster, check out thelimitlessmind.com for all of the modules.